Hi, if you are just joining me on Facebook, please pop a hello in the comments so I can thank you for joining me. So I will be checking comments, etc. from my phone. And so I will be watching out for it coming through. I would love to be able to thank you for joining me. So just say a hi, say a hello, send me an emoji. And if you are watching as a replay, then you can do #replay as well. Okay, so I'll just give a few more seconds for people to join, and then we can get started. So while we are waiting, how about putting in the comments what your understanding is for a ritual or the steps that you normally take when you are communicating with either your pets or other people's animals. What have you learned? So a little bit for me to get to know what you already do while I keep an eye on the comments, say hi to you, and pop in what it is that you have read about, learned, are the steps that you're supposed to take so that I can really talk to you about communicating with your own pet without lengthy rituals. So I'm going to say hi to Piedad, hello Michael, hi Geeta, hi Hilary, hi Katita, hello Lil. So we have quite a few joining us already. That's fantastic. So yes, put it in the comments while we're waiting. What are the steps, or do you have your own ritual for when you are preparing to communicate with animals, either in general or with your own pet? And also what I'd like to know as well is, how long does it take? How long does it take you? So this is what this Facebook Live is all about, looking at what are the things that we believe we need to do, and does it put us off when it comes to communicating with our own pets? Do we apply the same, or have you found your own way? Does it put you off if it's a lengthy ritual? Do you think, oh gosh, I haven't got time when it comes to mine? You know, do you feel as if, oh, it feels as if I have to make an appointment with my own pet, so as a result you don't? What are the challenges for you when you think about what it is you need to do when it comes to preparing to communicate with your animals? So I'll say hi to Bettina as well. Hi, Bettina. Hey, so I'm just waiting to see what your thoughts are. Do share, because the more you share, the more I'm able to cater what it is that I want to talk to you about with your individual situation. So Lil says she steps into the no sense receiving mode. I like your terminology there. Opening up for my intuitive perception. Okay, so Lil, roughly how long does that take you? Does it depend on circumstances? Does it depend on, you know, the animal? How long does it take you to prepare or to get into your no sense receiving mode? Hilary says, I've tried lots of things, usually involve some kind of meditation, visualizing, walking down some steps and meeting the animal somewhere calm, and then asking a question and waiting for an answer. Okay, so Hilary, let me know, how long does that take you? So does it vary? Is it always roughly around the same amount of time? So yeah, just give me an idea. The reason why I wanted to talk about this topic is because I found that when I started to learn animal communication, I took on the steps that, you know, my tutor and kind of collected as well, different rituals or practices that animal communicators would be suggesting. And there were days whereby I found that I was just kind of building it layer by layer by layer. And it felt as if sometimes my ritual just kind of expanded. And I did used to wonder, do I need every single step, or can I skip steps? Did I worry that if I skip steps, therefore it won't happen? Are these the kind of things that also cross your minds? Does the steps that you take or the process that you have, is it something that you've become very kind of, almost like dependent on, because you want to make sure that when it comes to communicating with the animals, that you are in the right zone? Okay, let me see what else is coming through. So Katita, you're saying you ground yourself, you ask for help from the source team, and then you set your intention. And as you told me, my cat tells me I can't focus. Oh, there's nothing like our own pets telling us off, isn't it? Okay, so a lot of your steps are to help you to ground yourself so that you can focus. Gita shares, you sit down in a quiet place with a photo of the animal and invite a communication by presenting yourself and tune in to the animal. You would love a quick access to your own pets. This is what this Facebook Live is all about, so stay tuned. So Lil says, I trained this to start with meditation. Now it is a simple choice, and let all be information and then make sense of the information. Okay. So Hillary, you says it can take a few minutes or up to 10 minutes. And then I write down the answers I start to get. I find it a bit hit and miss to get in the right zone. So, okay, so you can go through these steps and you're still sometimes not sure. Okay. So there's lots of examples and there's lots of similarities for what we've all learned along the way in our own individual animal communication, learning about some of the things that we can do in order to prepare ourselves before we communicate with, the animals. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this topic to you is that from my personal experience, when I started out, I really regarded and continue to regard communicating with animals and my own pets as a sacred act. It's such a special practice to share with them. It always feels like, such a kind of privilege and an honor to be able to commune with an animal in such a way. So the rituals that I wanted to put in place was very much to reflect how I felt about being able to have this opportunity to connect with animals in this way. But then as time went on, what I discovered was that I inadvertently started to build my rituals where it became almost bigger or longer. I would almost gather more tools. I would feel as if I should, instead of just doing one meditation, I should do two. Or, it's almost as if it started to kind of grow or expand. But the interesting thing was, it didn't grow or expand from a place of, like, I love the ritual, like the setup process was something that I just wanted to spend a long, long time in. Now, I want you to know at that time, I was actually unconscious about what was happening to me. But looking back, what was going on with me was that there were times when I didn't feel exactly confident that although I did the meditation or although I did the grounding work, that I quite got myself into the right zone, or it felt as if the communication wasn't quite how I wanted it. I felt like I could be struggling a bit, or it wasn't smooth. So then I would be thinking, I probably didn't prepare myself properly. I probably didn't protect my energies, or I probably was very distracted. Like one of you said in the comments, or I do all these things, but I still lose focus. I'm not very focused. I can't stay still. My mind keeps wandering off. So bit by bit, I started to pile in almost like more steps, thinking, come on, Joanne, you got to do this properly. You're not concentrating, or you're not feeling that confidence that when you finish your preparation, that the animal is really connected to you. So I wanted to bring this up because I wonder if you can relate to this, because our habits kind of evolve, and if we don't connect in with the almost like the energy or the intention for why we set a certain way of working, we might not be aware that it may come from a place of, say, underconfidence. I'm a great believer that if you're going to do anything, come from a place of joy, come from a place of like you want to. Yeah. So my experience, as I'm sharing with you, was I started to create this big old ritual because I was feeling underconfident. It's almost like I wanted to almost like make a pact. Yeah. If my rituals at the beginning was super long, super strong, and had all these different things that I would ensure I was in the right zone, then it would almost guarantee that my communications were going to be good. Yeah. How many of you here can relate to what I'm saying, that the back of your mind, you're thinking, if I don't prepare myself properly, that my communication is not going to be good? Who can relate to that? So let me know in the comments. So if you've just joined, what we're talking about is what kind of rituals or steps do you take that you have learned or you have kind of adapted over the time to prepare before you go into communication? And how long does it take you? Okay, so Ray says she can relate. Gita says you can relate. Gita say you can relate. So I like these comments very much because you're sharing with us, what you're experiencing. And it means that when we're reading this, we don't feel alone. Often we do these things and think, am I the only one? Am I the only one that can't quite get it? Am I the only one that struggle? So I really do appreciate you sharing it in the comments, because, even if you don't feel like you want to comment, then you're reading that somebody else is feeling the same way, which means we don't feel like we're the odd one out. So Angela can relate, Gita can relate, and Hillary says, I can relate to the underconfidence. Sometimes when I'm underconfident, I don't even want to try. Awareness, Hillary, you've got the awareness, right? So what we're saying here is when you feel underconfident, you avoid. So you're then, I used to be so hard on myself. I used to avoid animal communication. Like if somebody would ask me to communicate with their animals, I will always be like really excited to be asked. But like then the excitement can kind of turn into terror. And I used to think, this is crazy. I love talking to animals. I love animal communication. So why does it always feel so scary when it actually comes to it? So, the underconfidence can really play havoc with that. So I want you to know that I understand because I've been there. Okay, so let me get into what we want to talk about today, because there is a reason for forming certain habits and behaviors. And it's always good to review, all right? Because we're all individuals and we learn from others, but you have to also remember the person that you learn from isn't you. Like the things that I'm suggesting, the things that I'm talking to you about, doesn't necessarily mean it is the way. It means it's my way. And if you really resonate with it, if it helps you to move forward, if it helps you to progress, and it's something that you think, I want to give that a try, just like what she said, then that's the way to do it. If you think that's really not me, then just say, thanks. It was good to know how you like to do it. So it's really, really important that you connect with what somebody's offering you and say, do I do I get like I'm drawn to this? And that's the best way to check whether it's going to be right for you. Okay, I'm going to go into, I love slides. I'm going to go into slides and we're going to talk about primarily, because you know I'm an advocate for communicating with our own pets. So that will be the focus. I want to check in to know whether you have, in many ways, also been either avoiding or postponing or neglecting your own animals when it comes to communication, because you might not be aware of this. Unconsciously, you're thinking, it's going to take me ages to get into the zone because it normally does, and so you don't do it. Okay. So yes, communicating with your pet without lengthy rituals. What does that bring up for you? Is it something that you think, this is what I want? Is it possible? Is it right? Does it feel wrong to not have a lengthy ritual when it comes to communicating with your pet? So let me know again, how many of this can you relate to? You have learned the process for connecting with animals from books and courses. It works for other people's animals, but somehow it doesn't seem to work for your own pet. You don't know if you're connected successfully or not, and you don't hear them either. It takes too long, and you only wanted to ask your pet a quick question. So say you just wanted to know whether they like their food. And then you think, well, I have to do the meditation, then I have to do the intention, then I have to ask permission. You think, oh, it takes too long, I won't bother. You think you have a problem doing the quiet mind thing. So how many of you have put in place perhaps a longer ritual or a deeper ritual or more things to do in the preparation because you're finding it hard to quietening your mind? Would that be the reason why your preparation takes you a long time? Okay. So Ray can relate to quite a few things that we're talking about: avoiding, postponing. Honesty is so important because honesty is not failure. Honesty allows you to really get to the core of what's going on. And often, dare I say always, the core is we hold a belief that we're unconscious about. When you don't identify that belief, your habit will continue. You cannot, it's very difficult to change a habit if you don't identify the belief behind it. Okay. Right. So you think you have a problem doing the quiet mind thing. You may give up thinking that it's harder to communicate with your pets. Yeah, because the avoidance thing, and you just think, oh, it takes me, I've just done it, say, is almost an example. I say, I've just communicated with somebody's animal that took me 3 hours, and now I've got to communicate with my own. Does that mean it's going to take me another 3 hours? Okay. So Hillary says, I struggle with knowing if I'm really connected to my cat or imagining what he's saying. Yeah, I will be covering that in this Facebook Live, so stay tuned. So again, how many of this relates to you? So you believe you should set aside at least an hour to quieten your mind, still your body, which can involve lighting candles, playing soft music, chanting, meditation. So I'm sure, having read some of your comments, you can actually relate to, creating this space where you have this, meditation and really getting into the zone. Then you set the intention. What is your intention for communicating with the animal? And then you go into the process of connecting with the animal. And then you ask the animal for permission to communicate with them. And then at the end of the session, you do a ritual where you disconnect with the animal and then you clear your energies. Is this something that, I don't mean you have to do all of those steps, but is this something that you yourself have heard about or have learned? the important steps to practice when it comes to communicating with animals. So either some of it or all of it. All right. So Hillary says, I feel like this is what I should be doing. Okay. So now let's look at the reasons why this lengthy ritual may be needed when communicating with other people's animals. When it's other people's animals, you and the animal have not met before. Your energies haven't connected together before. So a respectful amount of time is advised to allow you to get to know one another. It's likely that you're nervous or apprehensive about the communication, about how it will go and how it will present itself, especially since the person of the animal will be eager to hear from you and will want evidence that it is the animal you're connected with. Yeah. So would you also say that your preparation, your ritual is really to help you, to help your nerves, to help you to be calm, help your mind, which could be playing all sorts of silly games going, are you sure you can do this? What if you get nothing? Because you know that when you're communicating with other people's animals, they will also be wanting information from you, and you will be hoping that they will give you, the animal will give you something that can be evidential, that you can give to the person for them to verify that it is the right animal. Yeah, can you see? Oof. Yeah, so often would you say that your ritual has expanded, or that you think it should be more because of just depending on how underconfident you feel or how nervous you feel? By the way, all of these come from my own experience as well. So you can be brutally honest about whether you can relate to this, because you are not alone. So when it comes to communicating with other people's animals, you also need time to understand and plan through how to ask the questions the person has given you to communicate with the animal. Again, how many of you can relate to that? Because sometimes we can receive a question that the animal's person has said they want to ask their animal, their pet. And I look at that question, I'm thinking, oh, okay, I don't really know how to ask that question, or I don't know how the answer is going to come through, or there's a part of me that doesn't feel really comfortable about that question. Yeah. So actually, I need that time to prepare. I need to kind of think, okay, I need to be more focused because, you know, this is going to be a tricky question. Will I get it? How will the animal tell it to me? So all that preparation is almost like, make sure you're connected to the animal, make sure you are doing it right, so that, okay. Also, you want to clear your mind to ensure you are not carrying your own beliefs and opinions that could influence the communication, so that the person will see that you are acting in the best interest of their animal. Yeah, so again, we equate, right, I mustn't have my own thoughts and beliefs and opinions influencing the communication. So my preparation has to be, you know, it has to do the job. It has to make sure it completely clears my mind. I don't have the thought about the fact that earlier on, you know, I had situation with my, you know, neighbor or something. It's like I have to be so neutral in order to be in the right zone to communicate with other people's animals. So actually, there's a lot involved. Can you start to see now that there will be a link between how your mindset is, where your level of ease with the process of how you enter animal communication is going to influence your preparation. Okay. So now let's look at, is that relevant? Are all these steps actually relevant or appropriate when it comes to communicating with our own animals? So let me take you through what I think. Let's look at how these beliefs may not apply to you communicating with your pet. Because at the present moment, what you've learned, what you've taken on as the way to prepare for an animal communication with other people's pets, we just automatically transfer it to our own pet, thinking we just do the same because that's the way to communicate with animals. But what I want to bring into this Facebook Live is to say, do they apply? Okay, so I want you to make up your own mind. I'm putting forward a case, up to you for you to say to me, yes, I get it, or yes, no, I don't think I agree with you. So let's look at the difference. So other people's pet. You and the animal have not met before, and so a respectful amount of time is advised to allow time to get to know one another. But when you look at you and your own pets, you already live together. You share a life together. Your connection is already well established. Agree or disagree? Has this occurred to you? As obvious as it sounds, when it comes to preparing to connect with our own pets, do we actually need to spend a lot of time connecting with them when we already share a life with them? Okay, when you look at the difference. Okay, so Ray agrees. When it's other people's pet, you are likely nervous or apprehensive about how the communication will present itself, since the person of the animal will be eager to hear from you and will want evidence it is their animal you're connected with. Therefore, we spend a lot longer in our preparation because we're nervous, because we think, right, okay, we've got to be calm, we've got to do this right, yeah? We've got to do this right. We worry. We worry that we don't do it in a way that will showcase, that we can do it. So there's a lot of worry. But when it comes to you and your pet communicating, communication is only between you and your pet, right? We know our pet will not judge us nor criticize us. We know that they will give us honest feedback by the way they interact with us or a shift in their behavior. So there's no nerves involved. Does this help you to feel a little relieved already? Okay, it's a very different dynamic for communicating with your own pets as opposed to communicating with other people's pets, right? So do you agree with this as well? Other people's pets. You need time to understand and plan through how to ask the questions the person has given you to communicate with their animal. Again, this very much depend on, even if you don't think the question is a good question, there's a part of you that know that you need to ask the animal for their person. But when it's your own pets, you can ask questions in the moment. You can ask the questions as and when the situation presents to you. And if you have a question that you are wondering whether your pet will understand or not, you have the time, you're not under any kind of time frame pressure to change the question around, ask it a different way. You could not ask the question, you could drop it, you could ask a different question, you can ask it tomorrow. You no longer have that pressure. And it's our pressure that's subconscious and unconscious when we're communicating with other people's pets that make us also think we better get ourselves in the right zone to connect properly. Okay. So therefore, when it comes to your own animals, there's no need to apply what you think you should be doing because our animals are with us, our pets are with us day in, day out. We can ask them questions in the moment. It can be off the cuff. Doesn't matter if the question is not the right question because we can just change it or we can go, okay, that doesn't make sense, etc. So it's a lot more relaxed. Okay, let's do one more. With other people's pets, you believe you have to make sure you don't bring in your own beliefs, your own opinions. You have to be neutral. And so you do lots of the rituals to make sure that you quiet your mind. You're not distracted by something that's going on beforehand. But when it comes to our own pets, in that moment when you want to communicate with them, you are going to have beliefs and opinions that you formed about them. This is one of the things, isn't it? We say, oh, I already know so much about them. But guess what? You use that as part of your communication to share your individual perspective and gain a deeper understanding from one another. So there isn't this need to be in a neutral zone in order to communicate with your pets. You can actually start the communication by saying, I'm holding these thoughts about you. I'm holding these opinions about you. I'm feeling stressed about this situation that I want to talk to you about. So that can actually be the start of your communication without thinking that you've got to enter the communication completely neutral. Our animals live with us day in, day out. They understand that the energy exchange between us and them is all about everything that we're feeling, the same with them. So we don't need to literally come in with a neutral energy. We can allow the communication with them to help both you and the pet to be neutral, by expressing where you're at with them. So emotions with our own pets are absolutely fine. So what happens when you start communicating with your pet without needing lengthy rituals? What if you just went into it, knowing that you're already connected, okay? Knowing that you don't have to be nervous, knowing that the questions can be off the cuff or in that moment. Can you see how that setting allows you to communicate and connect with your pet instantaneously? Would you say that that's something that you are going, that might be something that could happen because I already am connected with my pet. I don't need to go through a ritual in order to connect with them. Does that help you to know that you can just go straight into a communication with them? So when you start communicating with your pet without the lengthy rituals, you can just go straight in it. I promise you, from my own pets and their communication, as well as working with hundreds of other pet parents, when they actually almost like bypass what they think they should do and just go for it, their pets have been thrilled and delighted, because why wouldn't they be? Would you also connect in with the possibility or the fact that our pets are kind of waiting for us to communicate with them? They're not like, oh no, don't talk to me. Why would they say that? So because it's likely we became interested in animal communication because we wanted to communicate with them. But also, it's very, very likely our own pets brought us to animal communication. Definitely, at least one of our pets would have put us on a path to discover animal communication. So if our own animals have put us on the path, why would they not want us to communicate with them? Why would they need to wait 30 minutes for us to prepare ourselves before communicating with them? They're probably going, just do it. And guess what? They're always available to practice. So you can create daily opportunities to learn together, which is a great way to strengthen your bond. It is so, it makes it far more fun and relaxed when you're saying, I'm going to do a practice daily with them. It can be a snippet here, it can be 5 minutes there, it can be 10 minutes before bedtime, it can be 15 minutes if I really want to share a meditation with them. So it becomes a fun activity And you have the time during the day, the week, the month to notice how they interact and whether they have changed as a result of the communication. So do you feel more motivated to communicate with your own pets if you know that you don't have to do a ritual before it? Is that a yes or no? So how will I know that you're going to be answering that question? Just put, yes, I want to communicate with my pet. That's actually a long sentence, but you to type, isn't it? Just put yes, no ritual. Okay, if it's something that I'm asking you to explore. Again, I'm not saying this is the way to do it. And I want to also clarify that rituals is a beautiful act, is a beautiful practice. I'm not saying don't do rituals. I'm saying, does it help you to be more motivated to practice and communicate with your own pets if you knew you didn't have to do lots of rituals? So yes, no ritual means that I have been able to help you to go, you know what, I'm going to give it a go, because your animals will tell you. Your animals will go, I want to talk to you now. Or, no, let's do a meditation together first. Can you see how you can be more creative with your own pets? Great. We've got a few yes, no rituals coming through. We got it from Casita. We got it from Lauren. We got it from Geeta. We got it from Hillary. We got it from Rachel. Yes. And what I would love is to get feedback from you when you try it with your pet and say, Ray says the ritual, no ritual isn't my issue. Aha, okay. So Lauren says, my horses led me to animal communication and my dog Skippy pushed me to keep going. So Bhagita says, don't use rituals, but like to prepare questions. Okay. So when you no longer need to put in place lengthy rituals, and remember, the context of the lengthy rituals is to do with underconfidence. Yeah. If you love chanting, if you love meditation, if you love, gong baths, then do it. But if you find that you're putting in place these rituals because you're coming from a place of, oh, I hope I know what I'm doing. I hope I'm going to be okay. I hope the communication, those lengthy rituals are coming from a place of fear. And I'm saying to you, when it comes to your own pets, you don't have to have fear. The communication no longer becomes a chore, and you don't only talk to them about serious issues or about things you're not happy about, because you're approaching your pets on a daily basis, 5 minutes here, one question there, because they live with us. Communication with our pets can be a long session because we really want to get to the depth of something, or it can be literally a question here, a question there. And in fact, communicating in the moment, off the cuff, as and when the opportunity presents itself, allows you and your pet to be relaxed and open with talking and listening. So it becomes both ways. Okay. So let's go into how can you be sure? I know there's a couple of questions here about, I'm not always sure if I'm connected to my pet. I already know so much about them. How do I know it's not my own mind that's thinking that, it's them when whatever? It's like the kind of block we have a lot of times is, I already know them. I already, I verbally talk to them. I physically hold them. So how will I know I'm connected to them telepathically? How do I know I'm connected to them energetically? So here's something that I want to try out with you. Okay. So remember intuitive senses: visual, sound, smell, taste, emotion, sensation, knowing. Please don't forget about these intuitive senses in animal communication. How many of you here, probably not the ones that are in my membership or in my mentoring, because I go on about the intuitive senses. How many of you forget that animal communication, the language of animal communication, is intuitive senses. Because when you forget, you'll be waiting for words. Yeah, you'll be waiting for sentences. Yes, we do get them, but not all the information's from there. So always remember, if you think that something feels a bit sticky or that you don't know if you're connected to your animals, are you open to receiving these intuitive senses? Okay. Rachel says, I feel like I'm connected to my pet, but don't always feel like I get a reply. So Rachel, what are you expecting the reply to come through as? Okay. Are you forgetting that the reply can come through as an image, as a sound, as a smell, as a taste, as an emotion, as a sensation, as a knowing? So I'd like to know. So Rachel, you said, oh yes, I forget about that. Yeah. What's the key concept in animal communication that we easily forget is that we are still expecting our animals to converse with us in the human language. Even telepathically, we're expecting them to converse with us in the human language. The moment we forget that, we are expecting them to tell it to us in a way that we can understand in words. And when you are only looking for words, the information is not rich. The information has not much depth. Okay, so remember the intuitive senses. So when you say, I don't know if my animal is answering me back, say to yourself, did they throw me an image? Did they send me a sound? Did they give me a smell? Did they send me a taste? Maybe I wasn't paying attention to the sensations inside my mouth. Did they send me an emotion? Did they send me a sensation? Did I get a knowing? Okay, so, right. So I'm glad that I've been able to remind you. Right. So I have a suggestion about how to have an awareness, how to hold an awareness of whether you're connected to your pet or not when you want to communicate telepathically with them. Okay. So there's the connection and there's the disconnection. Often the emphasis is on the connection. That's where we hold the most kind of like nervousness about, like, am I connected? How do I know I'm connected? Is my connection strong enough? Is my connection good? And you judge your connection based on the communication, correct? Would you say that that's your experience? You're thinking, if my connection is strong, then I will get the communication. If my connection is weak, then I'm not going to get the communication, or the communication is going to be a little iffy. Do you equate that? Right. Well, let me say to you that it's not necessarily the case. To me, it doesn't always equate. Now, how would that free you up if you knew that? Because you can have good connection, right? But if you ask a question that is, say, irrelevant or not of interest to the animal, or you didn't ask it in the way the animal understood it, then you may not get the answer. But it doesn't necessarily mean your connection was bad. Can I see some ahas, if this is giving you an aha moment, because this is really important, because the day I managed to understand this, your connection and your communication are two separate things, right? So let's use an example that is something we can relate to. Say I make a phone call to somebody. They answer the phone, right? So the connection is good because they heard the phone ring, they answered the phone. Then I ask a question that they don't understand or they don't want to answer, and I get silence. Does it mean the connection's bad, or does it mean my question's a bit? So a few ahas. Okay, good. I want you to kind of sit with that, because again, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, thinking if I'm not connected, if I'm not connected, if I'm not connected, how do I know that I'm connected? All of that stress. Then by the time you ask the question to the animal's like, I'm connected to you. I don't understand the question, because you're asking the question, perhaps not using intuitive senses. Okay, I'm very excited about this bit, because the day I realized that, it was a game changer. So anyway, back to our own pets. What I want to do is help you to have an awareness of how to know you and your pet are connected telepathically, and therefore that will give you the confidence and also enjoyment. I really like connecting with my own pets telepathically, because it is different to how I connect with them on a physical level. There are similarities in terms of what I receive as, you know, the kind of like the proof that I'm connected to them, but the experience is different. It really is. So I'm going to try something with you. I want you to think about a memory that you have, and I want you to connect to the events of that memory. So let's just do that for just do it for a few seconds, okay? Think of a memory that you can recall, and I want you to connect to that memory for a moment. Connect to the events of that memory. So can you pop in the comments, what are you experiencing when you're connected to the memory of an experience or the memory of the events? What is going on for you? So I'm going to give you a few moments just to share with me in the comments. What is happening for you? How are you connecting to the memory or to the experience? How does it present itself when you're connecting to that memory or that experience? Okay, Hillary says, you're feeling emotion, it's making you smile. All right, so you got intuitive senses there, you got the emotion, smiling is also emotion, but also a visual. And the sensation of smiling. I'll wait for a couple more to come through. Kathita says, I'm reliving it. It was embarrassing, so I got hot. Oh, yes, I can relate to that. The other day, I was recalling something and I was like cringing. It was something that I did in my 20s. And I was like, oh, this is so cringy. So Gita, you say you got visual, you got emotions. Bagita, you got emotion. Ray, you got the atmosphere, the visuals, the activities. Gita, you got visuals and emotions. And Rachel, you got emotion and a physical type feelings or sensation. Okay. Now I want you to disconnect from that memory. Disconnect from that memory, from the events. Now describe in the comments, what are you experiencing when you disconnect from that memory? How are you experiencing the disconnection? And also, Did you find that this connection happens quicker than the connection, or no difference? Let's see what's coming through when you pop it in the comments. So Kathita says, relief, nothing. Yeah, like gone, poof. Yeah. What else? By the way, I'm really appreciating your feedback. This is really helping me to understand where you're at, and also for me to be able to go, oh my goodness, these are all the things that I've been through. So Rachel goes, distance, chills, nothing. Ray goes, gone, nothing. Hilary says, like a feeling of distance and cutting a cord. Stillness, took longer to disconnect. Gite says, back to neutral. Okay, so there is two differences. You can identify the connection and you can identify the disconnection. Okay, so what I want to present to you, a little bit of a kind of a mind tongue twister. When you're not sure if you're connected to your pet telepathically, and you can try this with other people's animals as well, but my focus is to encourage you to communicate with your pets, okay? If you're not sure whether you're connected to your pet, I want you to disconnect with your pet. So follow me for a moment. When you can experience the disconnection, it might be easier then for you to then experience the connection. Let's try it for a moment, okay? Let's say to yourself, you're going to connect or choose one of your animals. You have more than one. At this stage, it doesn't matter whether you get it or you don't, right? I just want you to go with the flow. Say to yourself, right, I'm just going to call in my mind one of my pets to me, and I'm going to ask to connect with him or her. And by the way, make sure that your energy is upbeat when you want to connect with your pet. Yeah, don't go, oh, I don't know. Will they come to me? Will they not? Because that kind of vibration isn't very inviting to our own pets. They're like, yeah, whatever, we'll come to you later. So that's one of the things I found, that my vibration needs to be very inviting to my pets, because we are, when we're verbally, wanting them to come to us, we'd be like, come on, let's go. So do the same telepathically, because underconfidence really, they'll be like, yeah, we'll wait till she's really wanting to connect with us. So just for a moment, call one of your pets to you. Like I can say, don't worry about whether you're doing it right or wrong, or whether you are or you're not. It's going to give you a couple of seconds for that. Whatever you get, just kind of hold on to it for a minute, right? Now, I want you to disconnect. And let me know in the comments whether there's a difference in the disconnect. Even if the connect, you weren't sure, were you able to kind of experience the disconnect? Let me know so I can either help you along a bit more or go, yeah, this is working for you. What happens when you disconnect with your pet? With that one pet that you asked to come to you, and then you go, I'm going to disconnect now. Okay, finding it difficult to disconnect. Right, so Rachel, if you're finding it difficult to disconnect, it means you know what connection feels like. Correct? I don't know whether it was you that asked earlier that you don't know if you're connected to your pet or not, right? So I'm doing a little bit of kind of reverse psychology going on here. So Kathita, the disconnect is easier. So you know what disconnect feels like or looks like, or how it is, how it's experienced by you. Hilary says, I feel like energy goes up when I'm connect and energy comes down when I disconnect. You've got two different states. So Brigitte says it's really difficult to disconnect. Okay, so you know that you're connected. If you know that it's difficult to disconnect, you're connected. Yeah. So Ray says, feels sort of excruciating, disconnecting. Okay, so you also, Ray, know when you're connected and when you're disconnected. Geeta says, he came to me physically, and went away when I disconnected. Your Jeffrey gives you the best physical evidence. He really is. He's so supportive of this process. Can you get what I'm doing here? For those of you who said, I find it really hard to disconnect, therefore, you know confidently you are connected. Now, with our own animals, with our own pets, to me, there really isn't a need to disconnect from them. Yeah, again, different from if you were communicating with other people's animals, because you don't want to be carrying their energy, nor do they want to be carrying your energy. But with ours, I actually find it's fine to stay connected with them. So if you're saying to yourself, but I don't know if I'm connected to my pet or not, the one that I'm calling or the one that I want to communicate with, well, try a disconnection. And if you can identify a sensation or an experience with the disconnection, therefore it makes sense that you also will be able to sense that you are connected. It's always a bit of a tongue twister when I share this. I hope that makes sense to you. So for those of you who are like, always this is excruciating, I don't want to connect and disconnect, or I find it hard to disconnect, please don't feel like you have to do it with your own pets. I just wanted to almost show you a way for how to be confident you are connected with your pet already. So therefore, you don't need the ritual to connect with them in order to communicate with them. Okay, does that help? So the one thing that I want to bring into the benefits of communicating with your own pets is practicing with them is the best way to gain real and honest feedback from your animal for your animal communication learning. Like how Geeta just shared that her cat did that. He came to her physically when she asked to connect with him and physically went away when I disconnected. So, that really is, no one's going to ever shake Geeta's absolute belief that she can communicate with her animals. And if she can communicate with her animals, there's no reason why she can't communicate with all animals. So that's why when your own animals show you by a shift in the way that they interact with you or a behavioral change, you become confident. You know you can really try all sorts and experiment and be creative with them, and they can help you with your animal communication learning. So I hope that this has brought to you maybe different ways of looking at communicating with your own animals. And just to let you know, this week, I haven't announced it yet, but on Wednesday, I'm going to be launching my Pet Communication Quick Start course. I'm not going to tell you too much about it. There's going to be a super, super exciting offer that's going to come through. So look out for it when I launch it on Wednesday. Okay. No need for lengthy rituals when you want to connect with your own pets, unless you enjoy the ritual. Start to ask yourself, is my ritual coming from a place of fear or coming from a place of love? If it comes from a place of fear, then you want to be able to connect in with that fear. So our rituals should not start to be something that we're dependent on, but that it actually is something that really is, that we just love doing. But when it comes to your own pets, if you think, oh, I haven't got time to connect with them, I haven't got time to ask them a question, I haven't got time to practice with them, I haven't got time to listen to them, well, there's no lengthy rituals involved, so there's no excuse. Okay, so I hope I've inspired you. I hope I've motivated you to go and connect with your pet, disconnect with them just so that you can experience connection. and trust that they will really be your best teachers. We know that, don't we? We love that saying, our pets are our best teachers. So why are we not practicing animal communication with them? So I really, really appreciate every single one of you who commented, that you've joined, those that are watching a replay. Please share this Facebook Live if you believe that there's someone who's going to benefit from what I've talked about. Tag them, just spread the word. All right, take care. See you soon. Bye-bye.